kind of put a pin in something and have you talk about this, because when we were talking about before the show started, it's this power of purpose,
Yeah.
and you're interchanging the word calling and purpose, and we throw those words around. That every business writer out there talks about purpose. Every Christian writer talks about calling, but you're bringing them together in a context of now for you academics, but in the business world, or a
Hmm.
business guy in the academic world, however you choose it. But
Absolutely.
talk about this, because I know you just published something on this, and I know this is a passion for you.
Yes. Yeah.
Talk about this purpose calling thing,
Yeah.
and not academically, not in a book form, but what does it mean to you? What are you talking about, and what difference does it make for you?
Yeah, man. Okay. It's going to be hard for me not to do the academic piece a little bit before I get to it. So just a
Okay,
little bit. It's
fair
like,
enough, fair enough. It's
some,
your episode, man. You go for it.
oh, it's such an honor. I hope this will be encouraging to folks listening. But so yes, this term purpose means so many different things. And it does get interchanged with calling. I tend to do it with my language as well. So my dissertation is on purpose-driven entrepreneurship. What does that even mean? Purpose, purpose, purpose. We're seeing it everywhere. Gen Z right now has been called the most purpose-driven generation.
Hmm.
Well, what does that mean? What does this notion of purpose mean? So for my dissertation, I did a deep dive. What's going on in purpose? What does this mean? Well, in the psychology literature, it was actually this notion of purpose was brought into the literature by Viktor Frankl. He survived the Nazi concentration camp. We kind of came to these realizations that individuals that have a reason for living, kind of that transcends themselves. There's a reason. I want to bring education to the world in some sort of way. I want to be back for my family. These individuals tend to have extreme resilience because there's this longer term goal that means something deeply to them. So we introduced this to the literature. In the psychology literature, there's different conceptions of purpose, but the one that I tend to focus on, and I think the one that we're talking about a lot of times when we're using this term purpose, is really this intention to contribute positively in some way towards the betterment of others or the world. So it's something that's beyond the self, if that makes sense. So it's not just for yourself, but it's beyond the self. And so when I'm talking about purpose, it's some sort of beyond the self. And I think there are three terms that I think are really helpful. Sometimes they get interchanged. The one is a purpose. So if we think of a purpose, that's a specific thing, a goal we can say that I want to accomplish that's beyond myself. So like for me, the specific goal, I want to raise up the next generation of business leaders with a sense of purpose where they feel called to do something more than just make a living, but to really make a difference in the world. So
Hmm.
that I would say that
Hmm.
in some respect, that's part of my purpose, a purpose. But then there's purposeful engagement. And what that means is I need to be engaging in some sort of activity that's working toward that end. If I'm just talking about it, it's not going to actually get me anywhere. So what are these different pathways we want to call it? And that's what I'm really passionate about, is helping people, helping students, helping young people or older people identify, hey, what is that purpose, that a purpose, that singular purpose, that higher level goal that I want to accomplish in my life? What is that thing? And you talk to people, this comes from so many different experiences. Sometimes it's pain, something I experienced in my past that was really painful. Maybe it was a mentor that really inspired me in some sort of way. For some people, I traveled to Kenya a year and a half ago. Some people here have divine callings where God speaks to them and leadings in this. I've seen that in my research. People talking about, well, God gave me this dream. I have a friend that had a dream she said was from God, and she's has a super successful business. She's in Whole Foods, and so like these different in different stores. I mean, done really well. And it's that higher level goal is the purpose, a purpose. But then there's these pathways. How do you get there? And if you don't have these pathways, you're not going to be able to accomplish it. But then the third thing, which I think is super interesting, and what people are really interested in the business world right now, I think, is sense of purpose. So we have a purpose, what we pursue, purposeful engagement, the activities we engage in. And what that leads to is this, at the individual level, is a sense of purpose. So now I feel as though my life is imbued with meaning, with deeper, there's a deeper reason for me to be alive. And what the research shows is that these individuals have such better psychological functioning and physiological functioning. So it really matters from a medical perspective that people have this sense of purpose in life. It's considered the core, one of the cores of what it means to be well in life is to have a sense of purpose. And what they're finding in the business world as well is that when individuals have this sense of purpose in work, it is transformational. When organizations have this sense of purpose and people are working in organizations like that, there's research that shows they're 4 times more likely to be highly engaged in their work. And so it's just super fascinating. So I think for myself, like my purpose to raise up the next generation of business leaders, to engage in research that helps, our brothers and sisters in need, the pathways for me to pursue that are really here in my job at the University of Oklahoma. And I'm just so grateful to have the opportunity to help students figure out business plans and figure out what do they want to do. If that's a car washing business, whatever it may be, encouraging them in this way, and then doing meaningful research that gets there. And then I'm experiencing this sense of purpose, which is incredible. I'll wake up at 5 a.m. sometimes and I'm just so excited. But put someone else in my shoes, they could be miserable. So it really is this individualized experience of, hey, what is the purpose that you have? What are the pathways to do it? And then this sense of purpose. And organizations crave this, but it's really hard to get this embedded inside of organizations. I'd be happy to talk about it more, but I think I went a little more academic than you might have been.
No, that was fantastic. I was going to tell you, first of all, you are going to be, and I'll put it in air quotes for those who are listening, you're going to be that professor. And I mean that that's a compliment, because I had several in my career. They were that professor. They had at the moment a profound impact on me. One taught me to love learning. One taught me to focus, and my purpose was building men. I mean, there were only a handful, but every one of them had that impact, and you're going to be that.
Thank you.
In this season in Oklahoma, I can see it. And then so that's part of where my mind wants to go with this, Sean. But then I also think about, you're talking about, like, in the business world in general, everybody's struggling with engagement. I saw a Gallup poll just the other day that 31% of the American workforce is engaged. And that's up, by the way. That's up from but over 25 years, it's gone up like 2 points. Wow. Started at 29, it's now at 31. So that means to those that are on this podcast listening to us, that means that 2 out of 3 of their employees don't care.
Yeah.
They're just there. They're just warming it. It's terrible. They're miserable. The people around them are miserable. The productivity is miserable. I mean, this goes on and on. And I remember thinking in the research on engagement, the number one thing is people want to be involved in purposeful work.
Yes.
That their work has meaning. There are other things they need as well.
Yeah.
But that's huge. And I know, businesses talk about it. And from a Christian perspective, I'm going to go a different route and say, I don't hear the church challenging the people in the congregation to find their purpose. It's just kind of do, read, pray, give.
Yeah.